What's up, guys? It's Super K Sharpening here. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a full sharpening on the KME. I've got the Gerber Paralite and the copper blade. I've already got it set up on the vise here, and I'm going to go ahead and color the bevel and figure out the angle. Hopefully we can get it in the first couple tries. Colored in the bevel, and then I've got the 140 grit stone on here. Normally you would do the 1500 when you're finding the angle, but for today I just have the 140 on there. So let's see what we got. And that, my friends, is spot on. So we're going to sharpen here. This is about 22 degrees, if I'm not mistaken, on the KME. So we're going to go ahead and start sharpening from here. So I'm going to continue with the 140. Hopefully y'all can see that. See if I have a burr. And I have one from the tip to about midway, so I need to do a little bit more work on the back towards the heel. And that seemed to get it. So now what we'll do is we'll flip to the other side, flip the knife over, and repeat the same thing. That was 35 strokes on that side, so we'll continue to do 35 on this side to keep everything even. And no burr, so I'm going to continue on this side, and then I'll go back and repeat it on the other side to keep the strokes even. Once again, checking for my burr. One of the cool things about the KME is you can turn the knife whichever direction, whichever is more comfortable for you. go ahead and see what that did. Go ahead and wipe the blade off here. Got a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And I've got a burr all the way up to about middle, to about right there, and then not on the tip. So I'm gonna work a little bit more on the tip of the knife to get the burr. The beginning part of the process when you're sharpening is the most crucial. That's how you get your knife sharp. So you wanna have a burr for the full length of the blade on your first stone. For me, the first stone that I'm using is the 140 grit. So this step right here is imperative to have the knife set up the way I want it. So sometimes you gotta spend a little bit more time on the beginning of the process, which what I'm referring to is like starting out with the lower grit stones. So like I said, I'm focusing a little bit more towards the tip. But you also want to keep everything even. So if you work a couple strokes on the tip, you want to come back and work your way back to the heel of the knife. Let's see what that did. Once again, wiping my blade off. And that has a burr all the way to the tip. So it works good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it over and repeat the process a few times just to really lock in my new angle. Once again, I have another part that doesn't have a burr, so I'm gonna do a little bit work back here. I can still feel the burr from the other side, so I didn't fully remove it. So I'm gonna do a little bit of work right here in this section just to remove that burr from when I had a knife like this on the other side. Like I said earlier, this part is the most crucial part of sharpening, so you gotta get this part down good. And then once you go from here, it's smooth sailing all the way to the strops or the abrasive films, whichever you have. And I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm letting the stone do all the work. With these higher grit stones, you don't have to press hard. They work either way. I still feel the burr, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a scrubbing motion, which means I'm going to slide the stone up and down. I don't normally do this because I like to keep my scratch patterns all equal, but what I'm going to do to compensate for that is very light pressure, and I'm going to do it on both sides. For some reason, this knife wasn't ground, I guess the same, for the lack of my knowledge. It's for whatever reason, it's not wanting to take for right here. So I'm going to do a bit of scrubbing motion, which, like I said earlier, is up and down to try to get this to the angle that I've set on the rest of the knife. And then, like I said, I'll flip it over and do the same on the other side. And once again, I'm not pressing very hard at all. And I can still see a little bit of shine on this side, which means that burr is still there. So I'm going to continue with what I was doing and try to get this burr right here removed. And then from there, we'll progress to the other stones. It's a little bit more work. And that got it right there. So we're good to flip it over and then continue the process. And since I did the scrubbing side on the other side, I'm going to do it on this one to keep everything even. It's all about symmetry. And that got it. So I have removed the burr from this part of the blade that was giving me some issues, and I have now flipped it to this side. So we are good to do even lighter strokes alternating from side to side. So I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to remove the burr from this side with very, very, very light strokes, continuing with the 140 grit. I'm going to flip it over, very light strokes to where it's progressive. So I'll do like 4 on this side, and then I'll flip it 4 on this side, 3 on this side, 3 on this side, and so on and so forth all the way down to 0. And then I'll move to the 300 grit stones. So this was the burr side here. Yep. So very light strokes. Basically, the way I do this is I just let the stone rest on the knife. And as you can see, I'm holding the right here at the knob. Very light strokes. And then I'm just gonna check and see if I removed the burr. And that got it. So we're gonna flip it over and do 4 on this side with an additional downstroke on the back portion here. And then let's check our work again. No burr on that side. And a very, very small burr on that side. So we're gonna do a couple more strokes on this side and then repeat the same process on the other. So once again, very light pressure. Let the weight of the stone do all the work. Then we're gonna flip it over, do 3 on this side. And then let's do 2 on this side. Even lighter pressure. Perfect. So I feel no burr on that side, so we're gonna do 2 strokes on this side. Super light pressure. 1 and 2. Nothing. Perfect. So from here, I'm going to switch to my 300 grit stone. To switch stones out, it's real easy. You unscrew this knob here, and it loosens this little plate right here with the sides on it, so it holds the stone in play. I got my 300 grit stone. And something I forgot to mention when I started is I like to have a little drop of the honing oil that comes with the abrasive strops. I put a dot or 2 on here and then smear it around with my finger. So there's a little dot, perfect. And then take my finger, smear it around, make sure that's good and tight. From here, we just continue sharpening. And we already have a burr, so that's good. So that means what we established at the start with the 140 grit took very well. And now from here, it's an even quicker process. So I go until I feel a burr, and then I flip it and do the equal amount of strokes on the other side. So that was 20. So we're gonna flip it and do 20 on this side. And we got a burr the length of the blade again. Perfect. So I'm gonna flip it and then do the 4, 3, 2, 1. So four strokes, flip, 4 strokes, 3 strokes, flip, 3 strokes, flip, then so on and so forth. So really light pressure. So from here, 3 strokes. And the reason I keep checking for the burr is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to remove it entirely until I get to the next stone. And I know that was an unequal amount of strokes, but I can see the burr with my overhead light. I can see it right in here. So I'm trying to remove that. And the way I can tell by seeing it is the light reflects off of it a little bit differently. All right, so that got it. So now I just kind of want to even things up. I'm all about symmetry when I sharpen my knives. This is one of my own knives that I bought to show y'all how I sharpen on the KME. So I still take it as though, or I still sharpen it as though it's a customer's knife with the utmost care. That's why I got the blue painter's tape on there. I don't want to scratch or mar the blade at all. So I'm going to start back over with the 4 on each side. Very, very, very light pressure. And I have no burr on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next stone, which is a 600 grit. To take the stone out of the carrier here, you unscrew this knob, but keep your hands on the stone, otherwise it could fall off. Unscrew that a bit, and the stone lifts right up. So for here, we're gonna go to the 600 grit, and I'm gonna do a dot or 2 of oil. And then this little plate slides down and locks it in play. Tighten this down just a bit, and it's good to go. Another dot or 2 of honing oil, very small amount, you don't need much. And then I'm going to spread it around with a different finger because I don't want it to have any cross-contamination from the previous stone, the 300 grit. Checking for my burr again. keep going a little bit back here on the heel. I have it for the most part of the blade, but not so much right back here. And for whatever reason, this knife on the back is giving me a little bit of issues, but it's not a problem. There we go, that got it. So now I need to do some downward strokes on this side to repeat it. That was 20 on that, and then we did 3 sessions of the downward strokes. All right, let's see what we got. And we have the burr, the full length of the blade, perfect. So now we're gonna flip it over. And as I've said a couple times, we're gonna do the 4-3-2-1. And then as we do the 4-3-2-1, so what I mean by 4-3-2-1 is 4 strokes, flip, 4 strokes, and so on and so forth. You wanna progressively get lighter in the pressure. Perfect, I have no burr right now. So I'm gonna do 1 and 1. Very, very light pressure. Basically just the weight of the stone. All right, so from here, that was a 600 grit, so we're gonna unscrew this knob here. Stone comes straight out. Set that aside for the moment. And we're gonna move on to the 1500 grit. And these are all diamond stones. I forgot to mention that earlier when I started. These are the diamond grit stones for the KME, and these come standard with the kit. I'm gonna wipe this stone off a little bit, get some of that old oil off there and start fresh. Once again, got my honing oil, couple dots. And then I'm gonna smear it around with a different finger to avoid cross-contamination. And it doesn't take much oil at all. It's just providing a little bit of lubricant so the stone slides and passes over the stone, or passes over the blade a little bit better. Let's see if we got a burr. Not yet. Perfect, we got it the full length of the blade. So it's 40 strokes, so we'll flip it over and do 40 on this side. And 40. Perfect. All right. No burrs, perfect. So now what we're gonna do is move on to the abrasive film. And I'm gonna go ahead and end the video there, and I'll put that in the second part to keep these video lengths a little bit down so it's not super long to watch. So come back, join me on part 2, and we'll go ahead and do the abrasive films on it, and we'll take it up to 0.1 microns, which is equivalent to 160,000 grit. Thanks, guys.